And so, of course, Goldman Sachs runs BP, and they'll do whatever they have to scare you into going along with the carbon tax. People are like, well, what does a tax on my house or on coal have to do with this? And Obama just says, you're going to find out, schmuck.
And I agree with that. That's for sure.
Oh, these people, I mean, look, the sky's the limit. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said I agree with that. It's a shame of what's going on. And I want to let you know you got a lot of friends here in Kentucky.
I know we have a lot of great folks. And look at Rand Paul winning. Look at this black Republican trouncing Strom Thurmond, who had Strom Thurmond Jr. had a lot more money than him. As a Republican in the primary, the Tea Party candidate beat out Strom Thurmond's son. I mean, it just shows no matter what party it is or what election now, all of the establishment candidates or incumbents are out on their butts.
I tell you, I really think Ron Paul is going to win because he's got tremendous support here, but you will not hear it on the mainstream media. That's a total scam of what they're doing.
And we've all seen the video. We've played it here of he's on satellite, and Rachel Maddow, who's got a couple 100,000 viewers. I mean, the woman is a complete joke. I mean, they got a fancy television production. That's it. It just hoaxes the people that watch it into thinking it's big. It's a joke. I mean, you know, a regional baseball game in Texas on AM radio has more listeners than that does, more viewers. And Maddow got him on, was talking over him, and he's talking, and she's talking, and she goes, what do you think of the Civil Rights Act? And he's like, okay, hold on. Okay, yes. And he goes, no, I support that. He goes, oh, okay, yes, I can't. Oh, no, I support the Civil Rights Act. And they took him going, yes, because she'd been talking over him. And then he stopped and shut up and said, yes, which is what anybody does. Yes, say it again. Oh, proof. He goes, no, I'm not against the Civil Rights Act. Yes, you are. Yes, you. I mean, it was a hoax. Everything they do is about criminal hoaxes of deception. I appreciate your call. They just, there's no end to these people. Let's talk to John in Washington. John, you're on the air. Welcome.
Alex, real quick, during the hype for the McChrystal thing I heard on NPR, the Mineral Management Service now has a new name. It's going to be the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management and Regulation Enforcement. So it snuck that in under the wire. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't. You're saying, of course, what, they're creating a new federal agency?
Yeah, well, they're going to turn the old one that was in charge of the Gulf fiasco into a new regulatory thing. And the other question I had for you is, do you think this McChrystal thing could be positioning Petraeus for a presidential run?
Oh, that we know they're lining Petraeus up as the vice presidential candidate with Mr. Socialist Healthcare. So Republicans in the past would elect Mitt Romney now because they love to vote for socialists who have good hair. But now every incumbent, everyone seen as an establishment candidate is being shot down. And we have the Republican media saying, you better vote for mainline Republicans, you know, not for Tea Party people like Alex Jones. That's in the Washington Post today. You know, that Alex Jones, don't be like him. Yeah, because then you'll stand out. Then the people will know you're real. Then you'll win. You've got the Republican establishment and the Democratic establishment who are all intermarried and part of the criminal syndicate trying to keep control of both of their parties and keep them on the big government reservation, and they're going to fail. And, I mean, all of this, all I know is McChrystal doing what he did. He knew it was going to come out. And, yes, they are positioning Petraeus. But, again, Petraeus having a seizure, you better believe that when he starts running for president, nothing against people that have seizures, but the media is going to have a field day with that, saying you can't have a commander-in-chief that collapses, and he clearly had a seizure. So I think that's a big strike against Petraeus. You know, the leader has got to, you know, look like he's healthy and tough and virile. I mean, that's just like with Franklin Delano Roosevelt. They hid the fact he was in a wheelchair. The American people didn't even know he was in a wheelchair. That's how bamboozled they were. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad to be in a wheelchair. What matters is what somebody thinks and believes and stands for. But the issue is, in this petty world, where all that matters is the color of your hair and how stylish it is, and, you know, do you look like a ladies' man, that this is a big strike against Petraeus.
And can I say one thing, Alex?
Yes, sir.
I am I started a Facebook thing, anti-war Tacoma. I'm going to try to protest our Congressman Norm Dix when they start to move forward with the strike. So if anyone out here is listening in Tacoma, contact me on Facebook and let's raise our voices.
All right, buddy. Good job there. Everybody needs to get organized. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's 5 of you out there protesting the Iran strike. It doesn't matter if it's, 3 of you out there against water fluoridation. That's how big things start. We know if we just sit here on our hands, we're not going to have an effect. I mean, I never intended 16 years ago, it was about really 17 when I started getting politically active. I never intended, been on air 15 years, to be where I am now. I could have never imagined it. I would have tried to grow earlier or faster, but you can't go back. Hindsight's 20/20, as they say. Believe me, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. Take that first step. Take that second step. Take that third, that fourth, that fifth. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey. On the Iran front, we're seeing really a replay of all the past propaganda. Looking for my stack here. I could swear I just had that thing in front of me. Well, it doesn't matter. You know the news headlines. The head of Mossad has said they need to strike Iran. The United Nations is announcing that they intend to vote for sanctions to board all Iranian ships. The Iranians say they'll start boarding other ships in the Gulf. It's all acts of war. The media is now saying they've got super missiles that can hit the United States. It's all an exact replay of the lies about WMDs 7 years ago in the lead up to the attack on Iraq after a decade plus of crippling sanctions. And it's all about empire. And the American people are distracted with oil spills and McChrystal and the rest of it. Let's go ahead and go to John in Washington. John, you're on the air. Okay, Matt in Missouri. Go ahead, Matt.
I'll tell you what, Alex, getting through to you is about as hard as finding a politician with a conscience and a moral standard somewhere. This is unreal. I listened to your show about 13, 14 years ago, and I'll admit back then I thought you were whacked out, but I'm waking up today and things going on around me, and it is total and complete tyranny. And like you said before, it's a total repeat of history. When we left England and came to America, we left because we were slaves. We were serfs. We were to the nth degree. They were taxing the air we were breathing. And if you stop and think about it, that's what this CO2 thing is, too. They're going to start taxing us for the air we're breathing.
I remember people a decade ago, I remember the movie Spaceballs, a comedy where they're taxing the air. And now that's what this is.
Exactly. Exactly, and Obama was quoted yesterday, I heard on another radio show, where he said there's an opposition raising to abolish Obamacare. He said, I'm not going back. My question is, Mr. Sotaro, what are you afraid of going back to? The Constitution, we the people, or are you afraid of going back to capitalism? What is it you're afraid of going back to?
What do you think of Obama saying America is about institutions, not individuals?
I think he's just a total dictator. And there was a report earlier today, too, that they're talking about an executive order to get the amnesty. He's already hijacked Arizona.
Oh, yeah, no. He signed an executive order federalizing what food you can eat and how much salt can be in food. And now they're going to try to implement where the federal government controls everything.
I tell you, Alex, if we don't find a way, whether at the state or federal level, to indict these people, the Soroses, the CFR, the Federal Reserve, if we don't find a way to expose this in the mainstream and prosecute these people, then unfortunately someday we're going to wake up and realize it's time for another civil war.
Well, Matt, I hear you, and they want to push us into a physical civil war because they think they might be able to win that or finagle that or use that as an excuse to shut down free speech. The reason they're coming in wanting to restrict the Internet openly, and the best way to expose a dictator is make them act like one. The best way to bring them down is to make them act like one, like Mike Rivero always says. And that's true. By them coming out and saying they want to take the web over, it shows how what we're saying and doing is hurting them. I mean, listen to MSNBC. All they talk about is the Tea Party. All they talk about is me and how I'm a criminal and how I'm calling for violence, which isn't true. They're trying to lie to police so they come after me. They're desperate. We're hurting them. They're not invincible. In fact, they're weak. They're a bunch of pot-bellied scum who are criminal trash, and we're going to defeat them.